We are starting this session now. Before we proceed, I'd just like to mention something that's a little important. Uh, we would like to hear your questions from the session, and in order to do this, you can actually share your questions with us using a chat window in your WebEx interface. You can see it at the bottom of the screen. If you just put your mouse to the bottom of the screen, you will see a chat or a speech icon which you can click, and then it will show up in the panel on your right. Kindly make sure that you select the all panelist option in the drop down there. Once it's selected, then we can receive all your questions correctly. Right? So thank you for taking the time to join us for this webinar, and the session is starting now. I'm Karan Manral, and I will be your moderator for this webinar on behalf of Actis Technologies. Firstly, we appreciate your taking the time to join us for this session. Today, we intend to explore how AV over IP technology has become a game changer in AV and collaboration projects, and to better understand the real world benefits, not just the theoretical benefits, but the real world benefits that it can deliver for your organization. We will also try to get more clarity on the implications for your organization when they are considering moving AV technology to the broader IT network. So in this session, which is titled The Real World Benefits of AV over IP Network Video and Audio Systems, we will understand how AV over IP can simplify large-scale AV deployments and help bring AV into your traditional IT network. We will discuss how Crestron's NVX series product simplifies the integration process for IT teams in the short term, and also how it can create reliability, scalability, and security for your collaboration and enterprise infrastructure in the long run. I'd like to introduce our guest presenter for this session. It will be led by Srijan Mitra, who is a senior technical sales engineer at Crestron Electronics. Srijan has over a decade of hands-on experience in the AV industry and holds a CTS certification from Avixa. His experience makes him highly qualified to guide us on when and even how AV over IP should be implemented for your business. If you're all settled in and ready, we'll get started with this webinar now. Handing over to Srijan.
Hello everyone. Thanks Karan for the preview, and hope everyone's doing well. So just give me one moment. Right. I hope my screen is visible to all of you. Now, we have been hearing this term AV over IP in a matter of a lot of examples and a lot of scenarios. And the terminology itself, AV over IP, has been moving around in the air for quite a long time. Now, once we dive deep into this session, the few questions that we have to ask that present itself before us is primarily three of them. What is AV over IP? Why should we move towards AV over IP? And the third and quite relevant question is, how does exactly AV over IP works? Right. Moving on. So, what exactly is AV over IP? Well, AV over IP, the term itself expands to audio-visual over internet protocol. Essentially, what it means is we are able to transmit audio and video signals, and that means sharing your laptop screen or, in fact, even your microphone audio over your standard network. It can be a LAN, WAN, or something similar sort. Now, AV end users have always wanted the AV and IT services in their corporate ecosystem to operate with the same reliability and the same predictability like their telephone or their printer system works. However, over the last couple of decades, every piece of office equipment that requires a separate cabling system has moved over to the network. So now, AV over IP, the convergence provides us with the current technology available to us the same ease with which now we can move our AV devices that require separate cabling to our network devices. Now, however, not only with the ease of moving on the network, AV over IP also gives us the flexibility, the manageability, and of course the robustness that is required for a system to run for a longer period of time. And last but not the least, the most important factor of all of them is how easy it is to deploy AV over IP solution. Now that we know that what is AV over IP and how and why it is important to in our ecosystem, we could have a quick pass through on how exactly does AV over IP works. Now, typically, if you consider a conventional AV solution, that will involve your source and your destination. Now, the source, what terminology we refer to, that on a broader spectrum refers maybe your laptop, your video conferencing device, your wireless presentation, or for that matter, even digital signage media player as well. The destination, on the other hand, can be your display, your projector, or in some cases, even your visual solution as also. Now, lying in between this particular encoder and decoder is your local LAN or your Ethernet switch. Now, when we ask like how exactly does AV over IP work is, we are very well versed with the conventional switches, which include matrix switches and in some cases even the HDBaseT transmitters and receivers. Even though now when you talk about them physically on the loop-wise, the connector cable for both your HDBaseT and for your network is pretty much the same, which is a RJ45 connector. However, if you think about it, that when you want to present or when you want to transmit your HDMI signal and including your video signal over just one second, guys. Okay, sorry. So when you want to transmit your video signal and your audio signal over your conventional network switch, it becomes a preposterous idea. The very concept that data port that you're using in your laptop to connect to the internet stands for the fact that it is only capable of transmitting bits and bytes of data. On the other hand, the laptop that you're using, the video you are viewing, the presentation that you want to share are basically video and slides that compose of pixels data. So how do we do that? That we are breaking down the image and transmitting it on the network switch. That is where my encoder comes into the picture. Now the encoder, it functions in a way that it breaks down the image and converts it into packets of data, which is then sent over to the network switch. Now the advantage over here that we exploit is that the network switch can be on a covering a local area network that is conversing a single floor of an office space, or a network switch conversing the local area network that entitles to an entire building of a single office. The advantage as a result what you get is anywhere within the network, you put a decoder and the decoder would give out the processed image alongside the audio as well to a display which can range from a full HD display to a 4K full-fledged video solution for you. Now that we have a brief idea on how AV over IP works, we'll take up a few case scenarios that would better explain in itself that how and why AV over IP gives benefits. Now, what we have done over here, as Karan already mentioned, we'll be taking up some of the examples of some of the most commonly existing spaces in any corporate ecosystem. Now, what we are going to do about that is we are going to take up those spaces and we are going to see what type of conventional AV system exists over there, how it works, and then We'll replace that same solution with an AV over IP, and we'll see how AV over IP stands beneficial in those places. Now, when we are talking about the example, the first and foremost example that comes to the mind is that of cafeterias. No, maybe a couple of decades back, the sole purpose of cafeteria was for the employees and the workers to have their meals. But over a period of time, the cafeterias no longer just stands as a place to have their meals, but in time to time, it switches to the functionality of having a town hall event as well. Now, the moment we talk about a cafeteria solution, the first thing that we come across is the variety and the number of inputs and outputs that are spread throughout the space. A cafeteria is usually spanning over a large area, and in order to maintain the equilibrium of the video being distributed, the number of displays consecutively goes up depending on the area. And of course, to add to the variety is the number of input sources that we have to maintain in order to give a variety of video sources to the different displays. Now, given a solution where you are already having an existing cafeteria, you might be facing the challenge that tomorrow, or when you want to add a couple of more displays, or you want to add a very new type of video source to your existing solution, how do you do that? The first challenge that we face is where do we lay the cables for the new displays? And the second challenge that we face for the new sources is my current switcher capable of handling an extra new input source? So to answer this challenge, we come down with the solution of AV over IP. Now, the first thing that we are able to achieve with AV over IP is flexibility. Now, with the sources and the destinations, all of them lying on the network, all I need to worry about is my LAN port connections on the places where I have to increase my display. The inclusion of encoders and decoders on this environment would mean that tomorrow, if I want to scale up my system, or if I want to route my channels from one content to all the displays, it becomes a matter of minutes that I'm able to achieve all that. And because it is on the network, routing these signals among themselves becomes a child's play. The next example that I would take up for a common space is that of the training rooms. Now, training rooms are center for learning and interaction. And one of the most key features that we need to keep in mind, the capacity of a training room is depending on the count of the participants who will be attending that training. Now, this is something which, as a challenge that we all have faced, is how do we bring down two training rooms to be acting as together. Now, there are solutions where we remove the center partition wall and two training rooms become as a single combined training room. But given a situation where you have a guest lecturer appearing, the count of the participants will only be limited to the number of seats that is present in that training room. If we want to route the same signal, maybe even to the other training room, that is not physically possible because they are on separate standalone solutions. So now, when we talk about integrating AV over IP into this particular case scenario, what happens is, because my input sources are all lying on the IP, and as well as my display destinations are also relying on the IP, routing of these particular signals from anywhere to anywhere within the same network becomes easy. And not only that, if there is one training room happening on one particular floor of your office, we are now able to route that particular training session in progress to any other floor or of your office where there is maybe a training room, or in fact, as a matter of fact, even a small meeting room also. Now, coming to the third challenge that we presented ourselves was the introduction of a guest lecturer into this particular scenario. Now, let me know that if there is a guest lecturer in a particular training room, the capacity of the training room is restricted by the number of seats available. However, the first example that we took of that cafeteria, if we are converting that into a town hall event, and given a scenario where your training rooms and your cafeterias are both lying on the AV over IP, your cafeteria town hall now becomes a part of the training room session that is going on. Now that being said, we often face this particular solutions as well, wherein like we are combining two training rooms together. And in this particular case, what really happens is the display of only one of the training room can act for giving a video solution to the combined training rooms. With the AV over IP, now what we can do is we can utilize the same display for a combined training room solution as a secondary display for the people who are sitting at the back. The next example that I will take up is the security operation centers and the network operation centers. Now, irrevocably and invariably, these are some of the most sensitive areas where your entire organization's functionality is based out of, and it's dependent on that. Now, whenever we are talking about the solution that we can give in a SOC or a NOC, the first and foremost requirement that always comes up is that of a video wall. Now, a video wall solution invariably requires a video wall processor that would involve your entire video wall to operate as a single display or multiple displays being combined to form individual content to individual displays. The second solution that again is very much required is that of the KVM. KVM is keyboard video mouse combiner. So people who are working in multiple systems, we can utilize a single keyboard mouse to operate between multiple PCs and multiple displays, making use of very less time to switch and the ease and the less clutter on your desk. The third challenge that we actually face is combining the video wall with the KVM, because these two are completely separate entity. So when the question comes is, how do I combine a video wall solution with a KVM solution, and I expect all of them to work in sync with each other, that's why my other auxiliary devices can come to help me out. But then when I bring in other third-party auxiliary devices, that's where my security threat comes into the picture. The reason being, these areas, the SOCs and the NOCs, are absolute seat of power and an absolute seat of security and network isolation. So any form of device which is not verified, which does not have a network security clearance, when it is introduced into this environment, poses a huge threat to the entire setup of this SOC and the NOC. So when we look into deep dive, AV over IP solution replacing this particular scenario, we have AV over IP encoders and decoders that can route not just the video, not just the audio, but in fact your USB and control signal as well. So USB routing provides functionality of the KVM switching that we are talking in the second point. So with the inclusion of a control system, we can not just switch which input source to route to which output source, but now we can also route which keyboard can be connected to which of the PCs to obtain the functionality on the control of that particular PC. The third being the pixel perfect technology. It is a video processing technology that gives you the utmost and most better viewing experience when it comes to replicating your laptop screen onto a display. Now, the most common example or the most common pain point that I can take up in this particular case is a small example wherein we all have faced a scenario when we are presenting an Excel sheet onto a large display. The challenge we face is even when the Excel sheet, the cells are very bound in a very lower viewing resolution. In fact, when you are able to view it on the laptop screen, we replicate the same on our display through a combination of switching and transmitter receiver. The color replication is not exactly the same. What cell you are representing as red is appearing as vermilion onto the display. And what text you are writing maybe on one of the cells, because of the pixelation, because of the loss of signal through the process, it is appearing hazy and illegible for the people who are viewing it. So with the pixel perfect technology, the replication of the video that you are sending it through the laptop is exactly the same as when you're directly connecting your laptop to a display. It is as good as that. Now, the fourth point being the security part of it. I cannot give all these features and forget the security part of it if I want to give a solution to SOC and NOC with my company's product. So the security part becomes of utmost importance if I have to provide a solution in this case. And however, when we are giving a video and AV device on a network, the couple of certifications which becomes most important is the AES encryption, the 802.1x encryption, and the PKI authentication. What these means is that tomorrow, if you are having an installation with the Crestron encoders, decoders exist in your system, and any other person brings the same Crestron's manufactured encoder or decoder into your network and he connects it, there is no way that he will be able to access through the device into your network until and unless the IT manager approves of this device MAC ID into his network. That rogue device is as good as a device which is sitting outside the network. So that is the level of encryption and the security that we are able to provide on a network AV environment. Now, talking about the video wall functionality, we all have faced a requirement where we are having, I'm thinking of the example of a 3x3 video wall. It can be expandable up to 8x8 video wall for that matter. Now, we all know the requirement we face that while we want to show it in a single screen mode or in individual format. However, with this AV over IP solution of Crestron, you can have n number of permutation combination of video walls which cater to your bezel-to-bezel video wall solution. So that answers the solution for the SOCs and the NOCs. Now, the other undeniable part of any corporate environment is the boardrooms. We cannot have an office without a boardroom or a meeting room. And the fact of the matter is these boardrooms are the seat of the most important decision-making meetings and the most critical meeting points for people for making a decision or taking a plan of action. Now the challenge becomes is that entire AV architecture is dependent on a single AV switcher, and God forbid at any point of time if that one switcher fails, your entire meeting room becomes a redundant one with minus the display. So the only thing people can do is talk to each other, and there's no way they can present, there's no way they can do a video call whatsoever with the outside world. And if we are giving even a single switcher, there's no fail mechanism in case this primary device fails, because nobody wants to keep two switches, which is whereas one switcher is doing the entire job of it, nobody wants to keep another switcher just in case of a fail safe. And then becomes the third challenge, which is the color reproduction and that of the Excel sheet resolution match. Now, without a scaler, your reproduction of the Excel sheet, I'm emphasizing more on Excel sheet because if I'm running a PPT, my font size is pretty big. I really don't have to worry whether the person sitting on the last seat of the table will be able to see it or not, because in presentation, it is the normal human tendency that we keep the font size pretty big. But when we are talking about Excel, we want to accommodate all the rows into a single frame so that we are able to analyze the data. And often, as a result of this, we have to zoom out of the Excel sheet, which results that the individual cell's content becomes illegible for the person who is not just sitting in the last seat, but who is sitting in the middle seat also. That all being considered, the other challenge that we face is that of the audio. Now, anytime at any point of time you include a solution of AV in your boardroom, you have to consider a DSP, because not just the video part of it, you want to have the experience of the audio as well. And that audio is not just the content presentation, but that involves your video calling as well. So coming down to the solution, when we pitch this solution over an AV over IP, we include encoders and decoders at every source and every destination. So now, whatever the centralized switcher that we are considering, that you are thinking that we are worried about that it may get into a fail-safe mode, each and every encoder and each and every decoder acts independently in our case. So now, even though we are having a failure rate of 0.002% over the entire world in the last couple of years of our manufacturing, but a worst case scenario, if one of the encoders is not working, you still have the rest of the devices working in a perfect condition, which also means that if the port doesn't work, you can just as well go to the other port and you can start working on that. Now, the AV over IP device solution that we are providing, the encoders, the decoders are basically the same barcode, which essentially means a device can be converted to an encoder, and any encoder can start acting as a decoder with just a certain change in the firmware of the product. And that is firmware change is just a matter of minutes, and it is doable in the field itself. So you guys don't have to worry that if I want to change one encoder to a decoder, you don't have to worry that if I have to send it for RMA, I have to call the partner, I have to call the OEM. The answer is no. You would be self-dependent to conduct all these things, and it is as easy as just changing the settings in your Gmail account or any such account. The other important factor in AV over IP is the resolution of 4K resolution. Now we all know, and thanks to social media, thanks to advertising media, how 4K has evolved. We are evolving slowly from the era where you used to give XGA 720p displays. We have moved to Full HD displays, and now we are moving from Full HD to 4K content. Now, when it comes to content of 4K, there are primarily three kinds of 4K resolution that are available. There is something called 4K 30 Hz, and then there is 4K 60 Hz, which is 420, and then the highest form of 4K that is available is 4K 60 Hz 4:4. Now, this ratio of number is basically the color resolution and the chroma subsampling, but on a broader example, on a layman's language, this ratio of 4:4 ensures that whatever content you are playing, whatever the source you are playing, the color reproduction is exactly the same the way it is intended to be. Now, having discussed on the resolution part of it, comes the audio part. Now, more often than other, we ignore the audio part, but when it comes on a critical stage, the audio plays the most important factor, considering that we have to involve video conferencing or audio conferencing in this particular type of scenarios. Now, more often than other, we have faced a requirement that we want to present maybe perhaps from one of the laptops or one of the content sources. However, the requirement of audio is originating from another one of the sources. Now, this kind of unique but simple requirement involves the most complex of the DSP programming, the most complex of the switching routing to be happening. However, with the AV over IP, because we are having there's a terminology called audio breakaway, wherein you can route the video of one of the sources to your display, but the audio that is being played from the display is that of the second source that you have connected. So that gives us the liberty to choose which audio to route and which video to route as an independent form factor. Now, the third solution that we'll be taking up is that of digital signage. Now, digital signage again is a kind of a strictly territorial and restricted application, which as an Indian market we are still yet to explore. Now, digital signage as a solution, the first impression that it creates in our mind is that of a TV which is running our company's presentation or our company's policies, our company's views, and maybe perhaps the list of the top performance of the month. Now, the thing that we ask is, the solution that we involve in a digital signage is that of a PC which is running the license of your digital signage. Now, the question that we ask ourselves is, any display, and I say any display which is running a digital signage, is it capable of doing anything else or performing anything else other than digital signage? Because how many times do you really feel that list of the top performers of the month is important rather than you making a quick presentation to your teammates in that particular display where you don't have any of the other meeting rooms available to you? Wouldn't that would have been wonderful? The second question that arises is that of future scalability. Each digital signage display that you add to your ecosystem means one extra license that you have to buy for that particular display. On the longer run, if you have gone for a 50 license digital signage, and excuse me, if you have gone for a 50 license digital signage and tomorrow you want to expand your campus, you have to again, as a extra investment, increase the number of licenses to however number of more displays that you are planning on. And third, the most another important cost factor that will be including for you is the number of pieces that you have to buy. Signage licenses runs on PC. So now if you see the expansion of the digital signage display for you means not just buying a TV, that is an absolute necessity, you can avoid that. But invariably, do you really want to pay for an extra PC and an extra license just so that you can run some digital signage content in that? So how we are beating this extra cost factor for you is with the AV over IP solution now, you can have the fixed number of sources running in your AV rack room or your control room, or for that matter of fact, any place where you wish them to be. Now, tomorrow you have the provision for 10 or let's say four numbers of signage displays. You route four different contents or a single content to all the four displays. However, because I'm currently running everything on IP, the same digital signage displays can start acting as your tertiary displays for your town hall event. You have a guest lecturer come in, you can route his content to the same digital signage displays. You have a very important India, a cricket match going on, you can route the same cricket match to a digital signage displays. And not only that, tomorrow you think of expanding your campus, you think of expanding your office area, just get that the particular number of displays that you want, and all you have to invest in that particular number of endpoints, decoders. And now, all those new displays that you got for your signage start acting not only for your digital signage, but also for your town hall cafeteria, for your PC input, for your lecture input, or in fact for your set-top box input. And all this is only happening at the same number of licenses that you brought at the initial level. Now, we have been discussing on AV over IP, and we have been discussing on encoders and decoders. So, if you want to understand that what exactly an encoder does or how exactly an encoder functions or what models that are there, we would now dive deep into the products of that we are offering in the form of the DM NVX models. Now, talking about the device that you are going to place into your system, the first question you will be asking yourself is, what exactly powers this device? So the current model of the NVX, we are running the Intel RDR10 chip, which is basically one of the fastest single chip FPGA solution that is available. Now, not only that, we are also giving the Intopix pixel processing technology that gives you that particular exact pixel replication, that 4K 6444, all those data, all those details that I have been talking to you, that is being provided by the Intopix pixel processing technology. Now, not only that, what we are very proud to say and proud to offer is that this particular device has been exclusively developed by Intel with collaboration with Crestron. So we can quite assuredly say that Intel Aria with the Intopix pixel processing technology is not something you will find in every other OEM offering to you. It is something which is very, very exclusive offering from Crestron's point of view. Now, there is one question which invariably pops up in the back of our mind when you are talking about AV over IP, is that of the latency. And quite frankly, that's a very, very true concern, because many times it so happens that we are playing a presentation on our laptop, and this I'm talking about a conventional AV over IP solution. And we are coming back, we are playing a presentation on our laptop, and on my laptop I am on slide number 3. However, the display that I'm using to route my presentation on AV over IP is still stuck on slide number 1. Now imagine the awkwardness of the situation that I'm explaining something to you and the people on the other side are still wondering, okay, we are still on the welcome page. What on earth is going on? Where is this data coming from? So with the NVX and with the Interpex pixel processing technology and the FPGA's RER10 single chip, we have brought down the latency down to 10 millisecond. Now 10 millisecond is something again which is pretty much the same latency that you will be finding in a conventional HDBaseT switching. So now imagine you're getting a AV over IP solution with the latency that of a conventional HDBaseT solution. So we keep asking ourselves that if we are going to adapt to a AV over IP solution, what will be the network requirement? So our answer to that is that whatever your existing 1 gig network solution that you are having, our compatibility to that is a yes. So if you are having a 1 gig network solution, yes, we'll work on that. It requires a layer 3 compatibility. You will be having a layer 3 compatible switch. Yes, we are able to transmit our video on that. And when you talk about a constant bitrate solution, yes, we are able to work on a constant bitrate solution as well. So no matter what the content is, whether it is audio content, whether it is a video content, and in fact, whether it is a USB content, yes, we will be able to route it. Not only that, with the AV over IP solution, we are able to route our control signals as well. So which means now, even though your displays, I'll take the example, even though your displays are located at a pretty remote space, which is being catered to the AV over IP, with your control system included in this scenario, you will be remotely able to switch on and switch off your display. And the best part being of this, that you will get a real-time feedback whether your display is on or not. The second advantage of having the AV over IP is that every single decoder NVX is acting as an independent scaler. So which means like if I'm having, I'll give you 2 examples. Okay, I'll take the example of a laptop which is a MacBook Pro, which is a 4K resolution output, and I'll take the example of a Lenovo old generation laptop which gives me a 720p output. In either of these 2 scenarios, what challenge I face when I'm routing the signal to the display is, when I'm routing my MacBook, if my display is not 4K, in a conventional system, if my display is not 4K, the only thing that I'll get in my non-4K displays is a black screen. Only the 4K displays would work. Now, if I'm having a Lenovo laptop which is giving me a 720 pixel resolution output, even though I'm invested in a 4K display, the resolution I'll get is at about of just 720p. So with the inclusion of the individual scaling at every decoder level, irrespective of whatever my source is, if each and every single decoder will sync itself to the consecutive display that it is connected to, and then it will automatically scale up or scale down the resolution depending on the optimum resolution of the display. The second is the video routing. So we often not only talk about 4K, but then we have to take care of the fact that there are video sources which are still running a lower version, which is maybe 480i or 1080i. 1080i is the resolution which is typically used by most of the conventional video conferencing solutions. So now with my AV over IP devices, with my NVX solution, I am very much well ready to include your video conferencing into the AV over IP environment. Coming down to the audio part of it, yes, with the breakaway audio, I can route a separate encoder's audio to a independent all the NVX or maybe a selected decoder for a hearing purpose. And not only that, but we are also capable of downmixing Dolby Digital EX, Dolby Atmos, DTS, DTS-ES, and similar other channels and formats of audio. Now, not only that, but few of our products we are also capable of handling Dante and AES67. Now, AES67 is an encryption format, and Dante is basically a sole audio over IP protocol. Now, with the inclusion of Dante, you can have Dante amplifiers or Dante DSPs into your environment. And now, with the inclusion of the Dante in the AV over IP devices, you do not have to worry about routing your audio through your DSP through the entire building or entire floor or to a very specific a single meeting room as well. So Dante is capable of carrying 352 channels of audio on a single line. So that should give you an idea that how much capable the NVX is to handle that many channels of audio with parallel routing of video, USB, and in fact the control signal as well. The next part is the USB routing. Now we discussed that how AV over IP NVX solution can cater to a SOC and NOC environment. Now how we discussed that it is able to do it. The question how it is able to do it is with the USB 2.0 full interfaces. Now with this interface support, you can connect your keyboard mouses to any one of the encoders or in fact decoders, and you can connect your PC to any one of the encoders, and sitting anywhere within the network, you can access the PC while you route that USB signal to that particular encoder PC. Now, working on a keyboard mouse on a PC is one thing. The question that arises, well, I can route with the same thing with any other KVM. The question arises is, what is the latency? We do not answer that in the terms of the how much delay that it will be there. We answer it in terms of the video game controllers. Well, quite frankly, if any one of you has been a Arctic video gamer, you know that the response time of your joystick is invariably responsible for you winning or losing a match. So we are so much confident in the less latency of the USB signal transmission that we do a full-blown shootout wherein we are running the display with a decoder device which is connected to my joystick, and that decoder side is connected to either to my gaming PC or any Xbox or a PS controller. Now with that, the latency is so less that you are able to play a game wherein your PC is sitting on the network somewhere else, but you are sitting somewhere else with your display and you are able to experience that less latency and USB control faction on the IP network existing. Now, talking about control, when we talk about controlling displays, controlling lights, controlling projectors or controlling for that screen up down, this would invariably require a control protocol. Now, control protocol involves the control language that every device understands. The normal display that you use in your home, the normal set-top box that you use in your home, understands the language of infrared, which is known as IR. Quite commonly, when you're using a remote, the thing that you have to do is you have to point the remote to your display. Then there is another form of control which is called the RS232, or rather which we call as the serial bus interface. And then there is also the control which is on IP control, which is basically controlling your devices on the network. So, and third of course is the CEC. CEC is a common platform most commonly known as Consumer Electronics Consortium. CEC allows for direct control of your display, and I'm specifying this again. CEC works on display TV units only, not on projectors or any other display format. So CEC does not require an extra cable. CEC is something that has been triggered by the same HDMI cable which is carrying your audio and video. Now with the NVX solution, yes, we are able to trigger CEC through the NVX also. And in cases where you are not using a display, you are using a video wall, you are using a projector, yes, we'll be able to control that over the network, over the encoder decoder, without you having to worry that I have to lay a new cable to control my display, I have to lay a new cable to control my projector, oh, how do I control my projector screen? All this will be taken care by the encoder decoders which are having RS-232 and higher ports ready with them. Now, having talked about the NVX for quite a bit, let's have a look out of how the NVX presents itself. Now, the NVX includes, as I mentioned, that the same device, the NVX 350, can act both as your encoder and your decoder. One thing that I would really like to specify over here is it's an either or situation that you are having. It can either act as an encoder or it can either act as a decoder. Now, while it is acting as an encoder, it will only take the HDMI input 1 and input 2. The one HDMI output that you are able to see over here will act as your monitor output. So, which now means if you are giving this encoder at any one of the remote locations, the person who is sitting over there will not have to guess that what input is being played. He can connect any HDMI monitor to this device and it will act as a local confidence monitor for that person to look into that which of the input is chosen. When it is configured as a decoder, this HDMI output starts acting as your decoding output that gets directly connected to your display unit. Now, this HDMI, as we discussed, acts as a scaled output. So, I don't really have to worry that what resolution of display I am connecting, because I know my decoder will set the resolution to that particular display for the optimum viewing experience. Now, what advantage I can provide with this one is, when I'm in an encoder mode, my device will act as a 2x1 switcher. The question comes as how? You remember seeing the two HDMI input ports over here? They work in tandem as a last connected solution. So suppose I'm giving a presentation and I'm connected to HDMI port number 1, it will be routing my video signal to the over the network as well as to the local monitor. However, at any point of time you connect your laptop to the HDMI port number 2, I don't have to press anything, it will automatically switch to your laptop. And even then over the network, you don't have to worry about which signal will be getting routed because you can rest assured that the same will be happening over your network as well. Now that was the encoder part of it. What about the decoder part? In the decoder part, we can offer as a 3x1 switcher. The notation comes, how is exactly the 3x1 switcher coming? The first input is that of the stream that you're getting over the network. That's your very first input, and that's the most important input that we are concerned with. However, the other two HDMI inputs that are there in the device already, they are not lying just passive. What we are offering now is them to be acting as the secondary and the tertiary input for your decoder, which means I'll take up the example of the digital signage. In a normal digital signage, if you are using this particular device behind any one of your digital signage solutions and you're running the company's PPT, you're running your annual report, you're running your perform of the month list, you go in, you connect your laptop to any of the HDMI input, and then your digital signage display converts itself into your local presentation. You can utilize the same display, you can utilize the space for a local huddle room meeting, a huddle meetup. Once your presentation is done, just remove the cable and your decoder will automatically switch back to your digital signage solution. So as a result, not only are you optimally using your real estate in terminology of not letting go of any space to waste, but even the displays that you invested in for the sole purpose of digital signage are today working for you as your local presentation solution. Now, talking about the varieties of the encoder decoders that we have to offer, we are having the E30 and the D30, which present to be the basic level of encoder only and decoder only. Then we have the subsequent NVX 350, which acts as a normal encoder as well as a decoder, depending on the situation. It's either or. Then we have the 351, NVX 351, which performs for the downmixing of your 5.1 or a 7.1 solution. The top of the food chain, we have the NVX 352, which has a Dante interface, which means that you put this anywhere within the network and you can route your audio independently on a separate Dante network. Now, folks, the important fact is, even though there are you can see multiple of five number of models to be exact, five different kinds of models of DMNVX. The beauty of this system as a total is that each one of these devices is capable, compatible, and well adversable to act in tandem with any other product. And when I say any permutation combination, I mean any permutation combination. So you can choose the encoder 30 for your media player, and you can choose NVX 350 for your video wall solution, and you can choose a 352 for your Dante routing. So quickly summarizing the feature set of all these five different models, the one thing that lies common is all of them is the 4K 6444 HDR with pixel perfect processing. So doesn't matter. Okay, I guess there are a few questions. I'll take them up as soon as I'm on the last slide, so I'll take up the questions as soon as I'm over with this. So coming down, each one of the device are capable of handling 4K 60 Hz 444. Irrespective of whichever the model you choose, rest assured that we are giving you the experience of a 4K 60 444 resolution. So it doesn't matter that today you're on a 720p display. Tomorrow, if the budget approved gets done from your office side, you can upgrade to a 4K TV. And the best part of that is you don't have to change anything. Just change the TV, and your backend system is ready with the 4K content for you. So that part really is assuring that we are giving you a solution which is future ready. Then comes the part of the encoding and decoding. The 350, 351 and 352 would act both as an encoder or a decoder. However, the E30 and the D30 are the low-cost solutions that we are offering, which can only act as an encoder for the E30 and the decoder for the D30. Coming down to the input and output part of it, again, all the 350, 351 and 352 has two input and one output. However, the E30 and D30 were offering the single input on E and a single output on the D30. For the power part of it, we need ultra PoE for the 350, 351 and 352. However, the E30 and D30 are on a lower power requirement, and a simple PoE plus is sufficient for that. Now, coming down to the security part of it. We might think that if we are providing you a low-cost solution with the E30 and D30, how viable is that to put it on the network? Rest assured that all our devices, and I really seriously mean it, undergo a very, very rigorous testing while we subject the device to non-stop badgering with network intrusions, hackings, and believe me, all of them have come out with flying colors wherein they have rejected, abstinated from any sort of interference from settings from someone coming outside the network, or in fact from someone coming within the network with its active directory inclusion. So that brings me down to the last session of it, the question and answer part of it. So what I will be doing is I'll be taking it up with Karan. Karan, if you are okay.
Yeah. Yes, Srijan. Srijan, I have a few questions. And I will basically just ask them. Ramesh, would you like to give access to Mukesh, or would you like me to ask the question on his behalf? Okay, I'll go ahead and ask the question. His question is, yeah, sorry, I think.
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for this actually session. I think seems to be the good overview. Actually, I can say. So
Okay.
I just want to check: will these devices have the inbuilt wireless option,
Uh,
wireless display option inbuilt, or do we need to connect any external
uh,
like barcode device or any other device like that?
the answer to your first part of the question is no. We are not giving any wireless option in this decoders. The answer to your second part of the question is yes. So if at all you have to introduce a wireless solution into your environment, you need to have a separate wireless device. Any wireless device you choose will have a HDMI output.
That's right. That's yeah.
So please understand the reason why I am not giving any wireless is my purpose, my objective of having this device, first of all, is not only routing AV over IP, but is also that of uncompromised network security. The moment I introduce a wireless facility in any or feature in one of the devices, I am compromising on that part of it.
Sure. Thanks very much.
You're welcome. Uh, I see. There's one more question I see is the integration of the recording facility in case of trainers or town halls. Um, to answer your question, I'll give you a simple scenario. Let's take up a scenario wherein we are conducting a town hall event and you're, with the advantage of the AV over IP, you're routing your live session all over your campus. Now, in case if you want to record that, I'll be brutally honest with you that we don't have a recording solution with us. However, if you have a recording solution with you, we can provide one decoder specifically for that particular recording feature. And when that scenario is integrated with your control system scenario now, your person who is overlooking the entire town hall event can specifically record whether he wants to record the presenter, he wants to record the audience, or he wants to record the presentation going on, the video going on. He can route any one of those streams to that particular recorder, and the recorder would be able to record it and store it maybe on the NAS or maybe on the internal storage device, the hard disk, any format of it.
Thanks, Srijan. Karan, would you like to spell out some more questions that we have?
I have got one more question. Can AV over IP deliver value when you have a small number of rooms, or is it feasible in larger ones also? A very clear-cut answer for this one would be AV over IP is a huge benefit to you when you consider a large environment. If you're considering a small meeting room or one or two room scenario, AV over IP might not be the best of the solution. But the moment you think of a large scenario, and by large I mean, let's say a 10 or 20 room scenario, or in fact 50 room scenario, the AV over IP solution not only becomes cost effective, but the returns of your the ROI that you get is of much more higher value. What special skills or training does the IT admin require to manage such a system? Well, the thing is, when we are giving you a AV over IP solution, we would be giving you a control system scenario also. And quite frankly, we create the GUI ready-made for you, wherein we name each and every encoder and we name each and every decoder. What I mean by naming is, we name, suppose you have Tata Sky 1, or you have Tata Sky 2, or you have Airtel Dish TV 1 or Airtel Dish TV 2. So sitting in his control room, and I'm talking maybe the device is somewhere else, he's sitting in his control room or in his cabin, he can access the control web page for this. sitting anywhere within the same network. I'm emphasizing on the same network terminology. Sitting anywhere within the same network, he can access that, and he can see that which input is being routed to which output. So for the IT admin to maintain and manage this, it would be as easy as that selecting, I want this input to be routed to this, I want this input to be routed to floor number 1, 2, 3, 4, or let's say I want the cricket match to be routed in my reception area. He just needs to select the input, he just needs to select which output he wants to route it to. The next question is, what tools are available for managing and monitoring this AV over IP network? And the next part of the question is, what abilities do they provide for better manageability? The first part of the question is, with the NVX solution, we are having something called as DM XIO Cloud. The XIO Cloud manages all the AV over IP devices over a single dashboard. I'll use the term dashboard. So now what basically happens is, on a single dashboard, you would be able to, or rather the GUI pulls up the data of all the network AV devices present in your ecosystem. So you don't have to go individually to every device to connect it. Sitting at one place, this XIO Cloud will bring down everything to your dashboard, and you can monitor which input or which encoder is being routed to which decoder. In the environment that one of your encoder, I'll give you a scenario. Suppose the network connection gets terminated on one of your decoders, so your display is not working. When you access this, you will immediately be able to see that I'll take an example. Cafeteria's display 2 is not connected. So the troubleshooting becomes so easy for you that you know that where to begin the troubleshooting. Your device is not connected to the network. So when you go there at the site, you know that there is something wrong with the network. So maybe the connection has been terminated or the cable is cut. So the moment you connect it, it starts reporting back to your XIO tool. Coming down to the other part of the question, what abilities do they provide for better manageability? We have something which is called as Crestron Fusion. And Crestron Fusion is a solution that we provide. It's a asset management software. It's again a licensed software. And the advantage that we are able to provide you is, it makes your life so easy as to not only are you able to manage your AV over IP devices, but if I tell you about your meeting rooms, it can even monitor whether your display is on or off. So if someone left the lights on in that room, you get a feedback on that. If someone left the shades open, if the shades are motorized and there is a control system in that, you'll get a feedback of that. So that is the level of detailing information that comes back to you on the dashboard of Fusion, that sitting in your Bangalore office or sitting in your Bombay office, you can monitor your real estate solutions like your offices, not just in Bombay, pan India or on a global level, provided that your offices are on the same VLAN. I hope that answers the question. The next question is...
I'll just stop there, Srijan.
Yeah, sure.
I think we are out of time in terms of being able to answer
I got
questions.
Sorry.
And we will get back, to any of you who have more queries. Thank you so much, Srijan. That was extremely interesting, and thanks for taking the time to answer all the questions.
Thank you.
For everybody else who's been here, that's all that we have time for today, and we will end the session now. I hope that you found it both informative and helpful. Please make sure that you fill in the feedback form. This will pop up when you end this session automatically. Please tell us what you liked about the session, and also perhaps suggest any suggestions you may have for improvement. Thank you again, and good evening. Good day to all of you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for bearing with me, and have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, Srijan.
Thank you.